Andre, it is so great to catch up with you again. I am so grateful that you're here for this conversation with me today.
Thank you for having me. I can't wait.
Yeah. So for those of you that may not know who you are, tell us a little bit about you and your background.
A little bit about me. Okay, who am I? Who am I? Big question to start. Immigrant from Croatia. So born in Croatia, grew up in Germany for a number of years. Through the war, we came to Australia and built our home in this country and Melbourne. Then on the Gold Coast, did my university studies, did a Bachelor of Business and my MBA through the Gold Coast, and then went into the corporate world. Out of uni, out of my MBA, did a good few years in the corporate sector before I started onto an entrepreneurial journey, which now I'm a multiple time founder, have exited. I'm currently building AI SaaS company and doing lots of things in between.
Yeah. So did the good, dutiful thing and went from, migrant family into going to university to go into a corporate job and then decided that maybe not have been the pathway that you were destined for.
Absolutely. As all these migrant stories go, there was only really one path provided by the family, which is you go to school, you go to university. And even after I finished my bachelor, my father said, well, what will you study next? And I went, well, I don't know if I wanted to do my master's straight away, and was kind of saying, if you don't, you will be homeless and poor. So you will continue. And so it's that scarcity mindset from a war-torn country.
Yeah.
And then after I finished my MBA, he went, well, what will we study now? And I went, oh, I don't think I'm going to do a PhD in business just yet.
Yeah.
So I did go into the corporate sector. And just as you touched on, there was definitely a lot of resistance and pushback when I said I would like to go off and do my own thing, because it's seen as risky and unsafe and turbulent at times.
Yeah. And very well-meaning and well-hearted. People come to this country because they want a better life for their kids than they perhaps had for themselves, right?
Yeah, it is with the purest intentions of love and care and wanting the best for their child, but not always seeing the full landscape for what it is, and coming from a different, not only place, but a different time, generations apart before technology and computers and AI and everything else.
Yeah, for sure. So when people look at your journey now, they see success, the lights, the shiny objects, the bright stars, but what's part of the journey that maybe almost broke you?
Many. So and that is the entrepreneurial journey. That's that whole hero's journey that so many people experience and talk about. And really, when building businesses, in order to make them a level of successful, risks are necessary, and those risks come in all forms, whether it be financial, physical, or mental. And at those periods, there is, I can think of one specific time, and this was not long after I had quit my corporate job. I was a project manager in a multinational corporation, and decent salary, doing well, and have gone off into a industry that I was not familiar with, starting my own business and basically putting all of my capital into it. And it came down to the crunch where the runway was running out, and I remember a specific time where I flew to Sydney from the Gold Coast for the Naturally Good Expo. So I was in health food and a dessert company. And Naturally Good Expo is one of the destinations that you want to go to display your product to distributors, retailers, and the rest of it. And I landed in Sydney, and I knew funds were going lower and lower. And this was kind of the hurrah of, this is our opportunity to really, we had our packaging right finally. We have put together all the pieces over months. And we didn't have about $20,000 that it would have cost us to exhibit. So I decided to hustle, just a raw, let's go hit that expo floor and just connect with as many people as possible. And waking up in Sydney, I went to go to breakfast and realized there was a very insignificant amount of money left in the bank account.
Scary.
Yeah, and it was funny. I think you need a level of either happy disposition or insanity to go through these things. So I laughed to myself and went, well, what would someone who's going to succeed today do?
Yeah, wow,
And,
great question.
So I spent most of my net worth on a breakfast in the Darling Harbour.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I made a video to myself. So I sat there because it was a real point of, oh wow, this is going to go one of two ways. And it was a video of me to myself, my future self, just going, hey, I want us to remember this when we do well, that this is a point we were at, and the only thing forward is basically knowing that we are going to succeed. And you know what? I went into that day and I met some distributors, and really from there onwards, it was far from a absolute upwards trajectory, but it definitely all picked up. The orders started coming in, the brand started growing, and on the exit, I actually made another video and kind of put them together, which was such a surreal experience to look back and have that foresight in that moment to go, hey, you did it.
That's incredible and so sure. And when I do presentations, I have we think it looks like from here to here, this success journey. And then I've got this one that looks like this massive scribble of this is actually what it looks like, right? And I think we see, social has definitely contributed to this narrative because we put our best version mostly, even our authentic, raw videos are somewhat crafted to a positive narrative about things. And I think, but it is so messy. And I think what we don't, when we're feeling heavy, is what you just did was you said, you know what, this is heavy right now, but my mindset is there's really no other option. Success is the only option right now. So let's get on with it.
The boats were burned.
Definitely. Well, you were looking at the harbour, thinking,
I have no boat.
I have no boat. I have no boat.
Exactly.
And then and I think what other people underestimate is how much even when you are. I think things can coexist together. So self-doubt and self-belief. Right? So you're not sitting there going, mate, I'm going to totally nail this. You are sitting there going, oh, I'm not sure, but I am going to make this work. And I think that's a huge paradox that people don't necessarily understand.
And you're right. It's not about pretending there is no problems, because if you pretend there is no problems, they're going to come and reveal themselves very vividly in front of yourself.
I call that the hijacking.
Yeah.
It's like, where did that come from? All that kind of stuff. So
and it's going, there is things here, but there is a path forward, and having that belief and vision and drawing yourself towards that future.
Yeah. So interestingly, who do you think you had to stop being for your company to grow?
So coming out of corporate and not to, there's two sides of this, and neither is right or wrong or bad. It's just coming from a very 7 years of university and then into a multinational corporation. It was very structured, very departmentalized, very KPI'd, and all of those things have a purpose and a requirement within those businesses. But coming out of that and realizing that building something from the ground up was so largely dependent on me, not only the cliche of wearing every hat, but me being a version of that company. And I had to stop being the department of whatever it was that I was doing, and really embody the vision of my company, the feel, without sounding too airy-fairy, but it was a feel that people that worked for us all gathered around. And as a leader, that is what people get drawn to, is that energy. So becoming a much more authentic version of myself rather than a corporate polished leader.
Yeah, I think and it's so true. And as someone who's done, not obviously to the same scale, but corporate and entrepreneurial and business ownership, I think in corporate, you understand the vision, but then you sit to the micro part of your role. And when you shift that into entrepreneurship, you have to be visionary with then understanding the micro. There's this real, but I don't think it's an either or. I think it's a both end of that kind of stuff.
And it does. It serves a purpose, as I said. And in corporate, you can't have everybody running around with their own agendas. So there is a reason for compartmentalization. But when building something from the ground up, it has a different vibe to it for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Now, you and I, we've already established that we could talk for hours on lots of different things. So this may be part one of a whole series. But anyway, but you and I really bonded over this idea that a seemingly individual but really interrelated ideas around identity and ecosystem and how they, work together. What makes them so important in your eyes?
When you go out into the big wide world and try to tackle new challenges, you realize that so much of it is the people around you. So ecosystem can be a whole range of things, whether that's the people around you, your friends and family believing in you and supporting you in whatever way you require on a personal level so you can show up as your best self, whether that is the ecosystem of clients, suppliers, customers that you work with around your business, or whether that is like-minded business leaders that are in similar industries or on a journey that resembles yours that you can learn and grow from together. Yeah. The importance of those is very much understated. And looking back now in retrospect, each one of the steps and the most successful steps was always due to somebody in that ecosystem, whether it was my leaders, my CIO or my general manager in my corporate role, believing in me, encouraging me, and almost pushing me to go out and do my own thing because they saw the potential in what I wanted to do, whether it's my friends and family, unbelievable amount of volunteer hours in the early days. Yeah. And to now running multiple businesses and having a lot of network of business leaders, and we all, even though we're in different industries, facing similar challenges, whether that be staffing, systems, growth, socials, and having those and not solving those challenges alone is really important. But then tying it back to the identity, that authenticity piece, in order for me to build the appropriate ecosystems, I have to have strong relationships with that ecosystem. Yeah. And I believe to have the best relationships, I have to show up as not who I think somebody needs me to be, because that unravels real quick and it's a lot of work, but who I am. Yeah. And that just strengthens that entire network infinitely.
Yeah. And I think, from my perspective, and it sounds like similar to yours, like, as your identity evolved, your ecosystem evolved with you. And as a result of your ecosystem evolving, your identity also evolved. So they're seemingly individual aspects, but they're so intertwined in your ongoing evolution and infinite journey, really, isn't it?
It's not a static point. It's people are always trying to figure out this truth of self, and it is always evolving. And situationally, what stage in life you're at, what challenges you're facing, how much introspection and work you've done, and I think it's a constant pursuit. So there isn't a destination of that.
Totally agree with you. And when we think of traditional business concepts that we're taught, some of those are very important. You need to be able to read a P&L sheet, and you need to be able to read all that kind of stuff, right? But where would you place identity and ecosystem in relation to understanding those traditional concepts in terms of, if you were talking to people that were aspiring to do what you do, which part would you think would be more important to get right?
Right at the top. Yeah. So everything, the traditional stuff can be taught and can be outsourced. Yep. You yourself and your vision as a leader, as someone in your space, that is wholly yours. So if there is something that you want to put on an importance, that is the number one thing that you need to get right. Yep. And surround yourself with those people that will then help you. Figuring out a P&L is not rocket science. But it does need to be learned.
Yeah, agree. But I agree with you. So my identity has this, I call it the ongoing evolution. And that absolutely impacts my ecosystem. Yeah. And I think one of the lessons that I learnt really was around your ecosystem sometimes is comfortable to support you to the level of their comfort versus yours. Yep. So that evolution of ecosystems sometimes grows and evolves. And it's not saying that people are bad.
No.
They can be beautiful people, but making sure that we're constantly auditing that and checking in, like you do with your KPIs and like you do with your financial systems. I think it's really important to audit your ecosystem as well.
And it's funny because as I built relationships in ecosystems, sometimes outgrowing certain aspects, there was a level of guilt.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe in any way that I am better.
Yes.
There is just challenges that I am facing that aren't relevant in those spaces anymore. So I need to seek a cohort that can assist me in this space.
Yeah.
And realizing how to come to a conclusion of that growth without the guilt.
So agree. And I don't know about you, I don't still get that right sometimes, but it's an ongoing piece of work.
Indeed.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that we think about is when we're growing and scaling, and you certainly scaled relatively fast, that growth can feel like, sometimes creating chaos versus momentum. And so how do we make sure, how do you recalibrate and realign so that it is growth for momentum versus just chaos?
Yeah. Self-awareness, checking in, and growth. It's funny, we seek growth, and we all say we seek growth, but then subconsciously it's so easy to self-sabotage because growth, let's take revenue in an example. Okay, I want to triple my revenue. That means now I need a different facility, I need to triple my staff size, I need to get a whole range of new suppliers and ingredients and cash flow. So your brain, whether consciously or subconsciously, has these problems that will arise as a result of your goal.
Yep.
And without the self-awareness, it's easy to sabotage yourself away from those things. So stepping back and really taking count of what it is, why it is, and how to get there, both internally as leaders, as people, and then as a business.
Yeah, so very true. And I think sometimes that people get to adulthood or get to a level of leadership and they're like, well, I know all the things. And I'm like, I think it's, one of those ongoing journey that seems to be the theme of this conversation is, I don't think you ever get there.
No.
It's a pursuit always of excellence, and it's like a quest that you're on, and that's an ongoing evolution.
The greatest thing I've learned probably in the last several years is that I don't know, right? And being able to admit that, not from a place of weakness, but quite the contrary, from a place of power, and going, okay, this is a strong point. Knowing that you don't know, and then being able to fill those gaps and surround yourself with people and your ecosystem that can help and support you in those ways, because they know some things that I don't know, but contrary, I know some things that they don't know.
And I think that permission to not know is something that we don't often afford ourselves. Yeah. Right.
And many leaders, everyone's had that manager that knew everything, but the team sits around going, they have no clue. So don't be that person.
Don't be that guy. Yeah, for sure. One of the things that I see in my own entrepreneurship journey, but also in the entrepreneurs that I, are friends with and friends, that I observe, is that entrepreneurs are known to be able to juggle a lot of balls. It is like our superpower. It's like a skill that we have. One of the things that I've learned is that we have to work out how many balls is the right number for us. And I can actually literally juggle. So, but so I can juggle one ball all right, I can juggle two balls. 3, I'm like still nailing it. 4 starts to look a little messy for me when I'm literally juggling, right? Yeah. Do you think that, how do you help entrepreneurs figure out what's the right number? Because like you said at the beginning, you're kind of like the everything person. But there's a sweet spot, I think, in your own juggling of journeys as an entrepreneur. What do you think that looks like for you?
Well, I think the fallacy that there is a spot again is inaccurate. The juggling changes. So you might start with 1 and might work your way up to 3, but the amount of balls or the pressure or stress or things you can handle at once, it depends on so much more than just yourself. Where's your health at?
Yep.
Where's your mental health at? Where is your systems within your business? Where is your ecosystem, your support? So once you start looking at what those represent and how you manage that, and the the factors that also influence that of going up or down, because I know myself, I hit strides and I'm working out every day and I'm doing all of these things and I fill my schedule and my calendar to the brim. And I go, I'm going to crush this. Like, this is going to be incredible. And then you get a bit of a health thing and something starts burning within the business. You lose a team member or two. And all of a sudden you look at your calendar as the most chaotic thing that you've ever done. So when you could juggle those 4 balls, all of a sudden you've got an injury and you're stuck with
one-handed juggling.
One-handed juggling.
Or the other thing that I think sometimes happens is you're juggling these balls and going well, and then all of a sudden they're filled with sand. And so some of those balls that you've juggled really, really well now are filled with something heavy, like your health or losing a team member. So it's the same ball, but it just feels heavy. It's like, you've dunked it in water and now it's like that heavier. It's that weighted one.
And so for me, the big practice there is self-awareness again. Checking in. For me, I also know when I'm out of kilter. And also what I need to do to get back on. So that's mindfulness practices, that's workouts, exercise is a huge part of that, my food, sleep, the general health protocol. I know if I have my 1 hour morning routine and that's set, I will be a much better juggler for the day. I will be much better to the people, to the staff. When I show up in A+ condition, it's amazing.
And isn't it interesting how when things start to get heavy, the first ball we drop is the one that we actually need the most.
The foundation.
Right? The foundational ball that you're like, this has to stay no matter what. And we're like, oh, I've got all these things. I'm just going to put that one down because I can. And then all of a sudden we're now not showing up. Those things get heavier, not lighter. So keeping and maintaining those things that are core to who you need to be, which is that self-awareness piece that you're talking about, I think is so important.
And making that the non-negotiable, as you said, I know this is the foundational. Also not judging myself for going off kilter, because it's going to happen. It's inevitable, especially when you push, because we push to a line, we find where that line is, we go a little bit further, we go, oh, that's where it was. So realizing, don't judge, you know what to do. So it's not about judging the falling off, it's about how quickly can you just get back to a grounded state.
And instead of that being a week, now it's a day and it's a couple of hours, and then hopefully you can recalibrate yourself pretty quickly on certain things. And I think that's a huge skill that is really underestimated, because we spend all of this time trying not to fail and not to drop the balls, that we don't spend a lot of time going, well, at some point I'm gonna. And so what are those skills I need over here to pick myself up so it is a quicker recalibration back into...
What would happen if you just put the balls down for a minute, stretched out your arms, and you're ready to go? So, I mean, breath work, which is something a little bit left field, but I started that 7 years ago, and now I know if I get into a state, within 5 to 10 minutes, I can actually make myself more centered. So little tools, and whatever that toolkit looks like for each individual will vary. But having that toolkit, having that self-awareness, and then just being able to control that.
And I think creating your own toolkit, because your toolkit will have some of the same tools as mine. But there'll be some additional ones that mine has that you will need something different, and that's also okay. I think when we look on socials these days, we look at everyone saying all of these things, and then we try and fit all of those tools in our toolbox or our toolkit, and sometimes we might need to have 5 key ones, and your 5 key ones, we might have 3 similar, but we might have 2 different, and that's also okay.
Well, correct, and you've touched on it. There's this perception online and through socials that there is an absolute answer. That there is an absolute leader or an absolute structure, and it's simply not true. It doesn't only depend on you yourself, but also who you're applying it to. You're going to interact differently with a different personality type a completely different situation. So that needs to be absolutely part of that awareness.
Agreed. And going back to that ecosystem part of things, I think for me that understanding energy and constructing an energy audit. So if I've got to be around somebody who I know may be an incredible person but takes a lot more energy for me, I need to make sure that I've got those tools around me to be able to navigate that to the best of my abilities. And then there's other people that I will gain a lot of energy from being around. And so maybe those tools don't need to come out as often, but you need to be able to know when to use them and how to maximize, and optimize for yourself, I think.
Yeah, and I think most people relate that you spend time with certain people and you feel reinvigorated.
Yes.
And then there is, that odd employee or maybe a family member that you know you've got half an hour in you until you're just drained and you need some fresh air afterwards. And these people are always going to be there. So it isn't about necessarily controlling the people, but controlling the way we relate to them, the way...
Yeah, your response, right?
Correct.
Yeah, perfect. I think, entrepreneurship is unique in the sense, well, not unique in this sense, but I think it really requires you to have passion and be deeply human. And it can be incredibly demanding. And so what does that look like for you as you've exited out of your first major startup and you're going on to, you've got the taste for entrepreneurship now. So how do you, I actually hate the word balance. I talk about harmony versus balance because I'm terrible at balancing. But, how do you remain deeply human and passionate and keep up with demands, but also have that high expectation of those that you're working with?
So the human aspect and the authenticity is big, but also realizing that the team requires stability from me. So me coming in a state of authentic panic is not beneficial, right?
So I've heard.
Time and place, right?
Yeah.
Find your advisory board that you can just... But as a general team, I can show up as a authentic person and as a leader without spilling every single emotional roller coaster that we go through, because ultimately that isn't beneficial to the culture, the team, and the vision and the outcome of the company. So realizing what impact we have and the impact of us showing up as a human, and is that positive or negative? And acting accordingly.
Yeah, so agree. And I think, there's been lots of, research and stuff about the importance of authenticity and vulnerability. And I think they are two foundational pieces of the puzzle. But I think we're still navigating what authenticity without unloading authentic panic, to your words, on our team. I think we can be authentically ourselves and have, I call it advisory board also, people I can go to maybe have that panic so they get the unedited version of me. And then
it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. But when I go back into my meetings or my teams, they get the authentic version of me that is just got a bit of an edited edge over it,
Put together.
Yeah, I've gone through my first draft and they're still getting me, but they've had the version that's a little bit more regulated, a little bit more grounded, a little bit with a bit more clarity, because I think that's what people really need from us.
Yes.
But still me.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And being vulnerable gives permission for your team to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And one thing I did also learn the power of is when people make mistakes, how we respond to that. And some of my team have made big boo-boos and initial reaction needed to be dealt with.
You need to go to your board advisor and then come back.
Hold that thought, I'll be back in an hour. But and allowing that, and not only allowing it, but encouraging that. And I think we're slowly starting to see that in the tech industry, where people are encouraging failure because they understand the innovation that brings. But coming from traditional education, where you pass or fail, fail, you're bad, you made a mistake. In traditional corporate, you make a mistake, you get written up, and now you're a bad person.
Yeah.
You have 3 of those and you're no longer welcome here.
For sure.
So there is a lot of unprogramming to do in that space to allow people to be themselves and to fulfill their role, to entrust them to fulfill their role their own way. And that sounds scary at first, and it is, especially when you've built something and now you're giving a portion of control to someone. And frameworks are good, but also majority of people don't love being micromanaged down and being told how to do it. Here's the task. I believe you're the right person. I trust you to do it.
Yep.
If you've stuffed up, let's resolve it together.
Yeah.
And that sort of empowerment, I think, is going to get you vastly further than hour by hour KPI dashboard with a green or red light on them.
Yeah, tracking your strokes.
Keystrokes, yeah.
Keystrokes on your
Yeah.
keyboard. Yeah, for sure.
And look, there is a place for that. I was vastly against it, and having a tech company now.
Yeah.
We had developers in Australia and overseas, and I don't want to watch them. I trust them. Unfortunately, sometimes that isn't the case.
Yeah.
So there is necessity for guidelines and frameworks.
Yep.
It's just how we enforce that and what the intent is behind it.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it can provide information around how long things take, because I'll have an idea in my head. I'm like, oh, this is a 5-minute job, and the other person's like, absolutely not a 5-minute job. And because it's not my area of expertise, it's theirs.
Yeah.
They will have a better frame of that. So sometimes that can be supportive because it provides some information that gives you insights as to how to optimize or what time is genuinely required for the task, I think. Now that you're on the other side of the exit, what feels most different about how you see that journey now?
Once you look at it in a review, you realize just the craziness, the absolute craziness. When you're in it, there is almost no time. Over time, I've learned to stop and look around, go, where are we? What are we doing? But really, it is, especially the first time around, it is such a roller coaster in every sense. And looking back at it now, I think chasing that growth and exit was always the path.
Yep.
And I forgot, it's cliche, but I forgot to smell the flowers along the way.
Yeah.
And now second time around, I am checking in with myself and the team going, are we enjoying this?
Yeah.
Because there is a cost to enjoyment. But if you're always maxing out and pushing as hard as possible, are you really winning, and at what cost? So in retrospect, I look at it as an amazing growth opportunity, especially personally. How it's formed my ability to relate to people and lead, and how I want to build things moving forward.
Amazing. And the genius of the and, right? Growth and enjoyment.
Yes.
And finding that harmony again about when's the right time for that. But I think so often we think it's one or the other. And I think the genius is there can be an and.
You can have both. You can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah. If it's done well with the right ecosystem and your identity is grounded enough in where you're going, which draws us back full circle to what we've been talking about. What do you think what decisions do you think should stay human even with the speed, like AI is not going anywhere, right? So what do you believe decisions should stay so deeply human even with the speed of AI and in a high growth environment?
People and culture, for one. So what should stay human? The human aspect. As most, I use AI, we're building AI, we're very much deeply in that space, but also knowing that it still is a machine, and for the foreseeable future, I don't believe it can fully comprehend. The algorithm can't comprehend human emotions, the illogical nature of humanity, the imperfection of us as beings. And I think that is something that intuition that can't be measured should definitely form part of that. So whilst the machine can look at resumes and work histories and skill sets and even test people, it can't actually sit down and feel.
Yeah, I so agree. And I think the traditional concept of leadership, I believe, is that you're either a process-driven leader or you're a people or a relational-driven leader. And I think I liked to lean towards more the relational-driven leader. But I think we're in a time where we need, again, the both and, right? I think we need to have process and people, and I think there is a place for AI, but the end is that it's still human-led.
And the AI is almost taking care of the process. So I think there's also a conversation out there, which camp are you in?
Yes.
And
Agreed.
I don't think it has to be completely split. I believe if you are in business, it's naive to think that you're going to completely opt out of playing this game and say we're not going to involve ourselves at all, because it creates such a competitive advantage in every industry across the globe that your business is almost forced to partake. But that doesn't force you to be less human.
Agreed. And I think that will be the ultimate competitive advantage, is those that can do the end.
Yeah.
Right? You and I could talk all day.
Yes.
There also could be videos of us juggling at some point. But
I'm not good at juggling, willing to learn.
What does success look like for you now? And for those that are like aspirational in this journey, what's something that you would like them to consider on their journey?
And I'll share mine, but people to consider what is their version of success and why. What do they want? Because majority of the time it's a feeling that we want.
Yeah.
And is that a feeling of acceptance, of being enough, of having a avatar or an image of somebody that we think we need to be, want to be loved, to be whatever it is. So what is the actual thing? We want to build a $100 million company. Okay, why? Because we want to impact people. Okay, why?
Yeah.
And if you keep on going further and further and take some time aside to have that level of introspection and depth, you can perhaps find out what your core value and driver is for your success.
Yeah.
And majority of the time, there's a much shorter path to it than what we envision. And it might not be through $1 billion or $100 million company.
Yeah.
And it might just be being more present with the people and with the things that you already have around you. And you can still build a $100 million company, but you can be successful already now.
Yeah. And I think money's the byproduct.
Correct.
Of getting that part right.
And to your point, it always seemed like a this or that.
Yeah.
And once again, we're learning you can have this and that.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a trade-off. Perhaps there's a trade-off to the speed that you're doing a certain thing.
Yeah.
But I would argue that it's better to enjoy it.
Andre, I cannot tell you how much I've enjoyed this conversation with you today. And I do honestly feel like we could spend the whole day chatting. I thank you for your time, thank you for your grace, and thank you for the amazing answers that you've provided today that will hopefully help other people on their entrepreneurship journey.
Thank you, and thank you for doing this work and sharing all of this with everyone. So.
Thank you.